Dear boomers, do you know that you can talk to yourselves and become a completely different person through the words that you use to talk to yourself, to talk to yourselves at a cellular level in order to create the life of your dreams? And I know from working with the public for a long time, listening to how people talk to each other in an uncompassionate way. Husbands to wives, wives to husbands, to significant others can be very hurtful and can actually program your life into negativity and delusional thinking and hopelessness. It all starts with your morning routine. Now, what do I mean by that? You get up in the morning, and there's two ways you can go. You can meditate for 20, 30, 40 minutes or more. I use Joe Dispenza's meditations. I have come to depend on them. Or you can get up, get your cell phone out, and start scrolling, and you start feeling miserable because you're programming your mind to the past, not to the future of your dreams. We want to create a magnetic pull from the universe into our hearts, and so that we know that we are the universe. The universe is us, and we are it. That's so important. The memories in the brain, each connected to people, things, times, and places, is what happens when you get on your Facebook, your Instagram, even your YouTube, anything like that. It just programs you to the past. So the brain is a record of the past. The moment we start our day, if we've already been thinking in the past, it's hard to wrestle your way out of it. Each of these memories carries an emotion, and emotions are the end products of our past experiences. So when we recall these memories, we start feeling unhappy, we start feeling sad or in pain. Our state of being from the very moment we open our eyes is rooted in the past. And the past is familiar, so we might want to stay there because we know it's familiar. We want to stay there. We don't want to venture forth out of our comfort zone, which is a miserable comfort zone. The familiar past will sooner or later become a predictable future. What do most people do next? After they grab their cell phones and check WhatsApp and text messages and emails and Facebook, the whole thing, they go through the motions doing the same thing every day. They see the same people, they're pushing the same emotional buttons. It becomes a program and a routine that actually robs us of our free will. So apparently, by the time we are 35 years of age, 95% of who we are is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, habits, attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions, all functioning like a computer program, just perfectly programming everything that you do. If you believe that your thoughts shape your destiny, and I would believe anybody who comes to this channel does, and you can't think greater than how you feel, you're stuck in the past. You'll keep creating the same life over and over again. How do we break free of this cycle? We need to get beyond the analytical mind. The analytical mind is the barrier that separates the conscious from the subconscious. That's where the meditation comes in. Through practice, we can change our brain waves from the heart to the brain to the heart, bring everything into coherence, and we can change the brain waves and slow them down into a harmonious pattern and enter the operating system where real change can happen. Now, a lot of people not necessarily wait for it, but when crisis occurs, you lose a loved one, or you break some kind of bone, or you come into a major dire diagnosis, that's when people do change. That does happen to most people, but why wait for that? A lot of people are on their deathbed. They look over their life and they wish they had tried to change sooner. You can change in a state of pain and suffering, or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. That's true. So 70% of most people's lives live in a state of emotional stress, in a state of survival, basically. They're always anticipating the worst case scenario. They condition their bodies into a constant state of fear, contraction, cortisol. And the body becomes addicted to the rush of these negative emotions, believe it or not, using problems to reaffirm their limitations just in order to feel something. If they're popping in of depressants and they're on a lot of pharmaceuticals, it becomes harder to feel things. So when it comes time to change, the body resists. It's been programmed to prefer the familiar, even if it's negative, over the uncertainty of the unknown. The unknown is the present moment, and that is where great change and great vistas open up, in that present moment and in that state of the unknown. And being in the unknown is scary, and most people would rather feel guilt and suffering because it is predictable. But the truth is, you don't have to wait for external circumstances to force change upon you. You can proactively change your mind and consequently change your life. Change your mind, change your life. It's about creating a new future from the unknown, not waiting for circumstances to dictate your reality. So you can reprogram your brain by this breathing and consciousness. You can go on a profound journey to shape the life you've always desired, as we spoke about yesterday. And you kick-start this transformation journey. The first step is to disconnect from the hustle and bustle of your busy life and to turn off the distractions, your cell phone, the TV, and the computer. You center on yourself and sit down and center. You ground, center, and align, as we have spoken about in other videos. And then breathe. In this present moment, free from the external noise and the distractions, you'll discover your creative self. Now ask yourself a couple of crucial questions that can prove the way for the change that you seek. Can you be defined by the vision of the future instead of the memories of the past? And what do you genuinely want in your life? And then, these questions are not just food for thought. They are catalysts for transformation. As you delve into these questions, you're not merely engaging in introspection, you're actively changing your brain. It's like flipping a switch in your mind, creating new neural pathways. And this creates a different way of thinking. Think of your brain as a garden. By disconnecting from the external noise and chaos, you're giving yourself the opportunity to weed out negative thoughts, plant seeds of positivity. As you breathe deeply and envision these seeds sprouting, just like my gourds, I planted them by seed, and they've sprouted, and they're leafing out. They're beautiful. As you breathe deeply, envision these seeds sprouting, growing into a lush garden of fresh perspective and possibilities. And that's what these gourds represent for me. Next, decide on the emotions that you'll feel when you create that future. Teach your body emotionally what this future will feel like, and don't get up until you start feeling these emotions. This step is crucial because the hardest part is to teach yourself emotionally what the future will feel like ahead of the actual experience. And this is what we were talking about over the last several weeks. Let's talk about rehearsing your future. It might sound a bit like daydreaming, and it's exactly what it is, daydreaming. But it is a powerful tool that can reshape your entire life. You close your eyes and take a moment and envision yourself, not just any version, but the person you aspire to be when you open your eyes again. And picture it vividly, the actions you'll take, the choices you'll make, and the steps you need to follow. It's like creating a mental movie of your future. Here's the fascinating part. When you're in this state of visualization, your brain is doing something amazing. It doesn't know the difference between what you are imagining and what you are experiencing in the 3D world around you. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking, as I said. It's a deliberate act of programming your brain, much like installing software on a computer. The more you rehearse, the more you're shaping your brain to look like the event that you're imagining has already happened. It's like tuning your brain from an old record player stuck in the past to to the cutting edge GPS guiding you to your future. Thoughts and behaviors are another thing. Decide what thoughts you want to bring to your future. Decide what words you want to speak to the people in your life and write them down. Thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change. You have to X them out and throw them out the door. And be conscious of your behaviors. Be conscious of your words. Be conscious of your thoughts. Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? And so you can break these patterns consciously. And decide what kind of emotions you no longer want to take into your future, into your new future. If you want wealth, you can't take lack. If you want health, you can't harbor insecurity or fear. If you begin to condition your mind and your body to a new mind, and if you do this every single day, maybe several times a day, taking gratitude breaks for the life that you know is about to happen, you're shaping your personality, and your personality creates your personal identity. Change any one of these things, any one of them, how you think, how you act, how you feel, and you will change your life. How you speak, talking to yourselves on a cellular level. Now it's time to take control of the words you tell yourself. The thoughts you think and the emotions you feel, have that conversation with yourselves. You have the power to transform every cell in your body by changing your mind. And the best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. We are wired to create not only the life of our dreams, but that making our life a total creation of joy and gratitude and unconditional love and forgiveness. Now, this is not something that you have to try to do. You just have to get beyond the memory of your past and all the associations that you have so that you can create this future. And theoretically, that sounds really easy, but everyone's done it at least once in their life. You get a wild idea, a crazy idea and you think, what would it be like to be happy? What would it be like to be in love? What would it be like to be rich? Whatever it is, and all of a sudden you ask that question and you turn on the creative energy centers in the brain. What if? What if? It turns on, and now the frontal lobe is the boss. It's the CEO, it's the symphony leader, and the frontal lobe is an executive and has connections to all other parts of the brain. Now, when you ask that question, what if? What would it feel like? It's got an answer. So it's got to look out over the landscape and see what kind of raw materials do I have. Well, you have a few things, knowledge that you've learned and experimented. And it so happens that you begin to call up different networks of neurons and it begins to seamlessly piece them together. And you've got a vision in your mind, and that's called intention. And then if you're passionate, you start to feel the feelings of when it happens. Now you're giving the body that energetic boost. Now everything's done. The moment you've said that, no one can talk you out of it. No person, no thing, no experience, and you're possessed by your passion. Now I know that sometimes we surround ourselves with negative people who want us to be practical, to go out and get a job, and this sort of thing. But I recommend finding online forums of people who support you. Write down your goals. When you start writing down all the choices that you have at your disposal, all the things you have to do, all the goals and experiences you want in your future, and every time you write one of those goals or experiences down on paper, you start to feel more of these emotions, of all the possibilities, and now you're assembling more of your future. So if you want to learn how to be healthy, you study healthy people, and if you want to become independently wealthy, you study wealthy people. You study to gain more knowledge, and knowledge is power. You're adding more stitches into the three-dimensional tapestry, and you get more raw material to dream about in new ways. And it's amazing what the power of writing things down. And write down on a piece of paper, what thoughts do I have to stop thinking? I can. I'll start tomorrow. It's too hard. I don't feel like it. I have a headache. I can't. I just have to go to bed. I'm tired. List these thoughts and become so conscious of those thoughts that you would never let any of those thoughts slip by your awareness unlocked by you. I just saw a video by Mel Robbins, who has a technique called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So whenever you feel like I can't, I won't, I'm just too exhausted, then you do this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it gets you going. She has a book. I haven't read it, but I think I will. And the metacognition is thinking from a neuroscientific viewpoint. Metacognition becomes because the moment you can observe the thought and become conscious of it, you're no longer in the program. Your consciousness observing the program, and you begin to literally objectify your subjective self. Now here's the most important point. Write down those emotions that keep you anchored to the past. These emotions are literally residue from the past, chemically. The moment you start feeling suffering, guilt, unworthiness, despair, or any of these emotions, you're back in the past and you can't see the future. So you create from the unknown. The best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. That void, that unknown, is the perfect place to create them. Living in survival 70% of the time, there's better chances in survival from running from the unknown than embracing the unknown. Let me say that again. There's better chances in survival from running from the unknown than embracing the unknown. People use the problems and conditions in their lives to reaffirm their addiction to that emotion so they can remember who they are as a somebody. Dr. Joe often teaches to get into the quantum field, you have to imagine that you're nobody, that you're nowhere, you're no thing, and that is where the unknown is created, and you become detached from what is known, all the fears, all the things that have held you back. Stepping out into the unknown is where the true greatness happens, because that's where the person begins to say, what thoughts do I want to fire? And what thoughts do I want to wire in my brain so that these neurons start finding each other and attaching all the connectivity? And all of this is done from a peaceful serenity. It's very important. What kind of emotions do I want to exhibit in my new life? Can I rehearse them in my mind? The mere process of mental rehearsal begins to install the circuits in your brain that look like the experience has already occurred. Ooh, yes. Can I teach my body emotionally what that future is going to be like? Can I begin to embrace the joy of my new life? Bodies and the unconscious mind begins to believe it's in the future instead of in the past. This process is certainly not an overnight process. It requires a continuous, it's a practice. It's like a spiritual practice. You make this your sole focus in this life. Observing people who have healed themselves of serious health conditions, who have overcome addictions, have created new opportunities, new jobs, new relationships, and a new life had to cross that river. They are literally a new personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. That's interesting. Your personality creates your reality. You can change your personality to be. You can look at your life as a statue that you, just a piece of marble that you are creating to be who you want to be. And changing beliefs is another thing. Most people try to create a new reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. People are breaking out of a biological mold. Many don't know they have the tools within reach to do this because they've been conditioned to believe external changes will change their state. So there it is. I can't have happiness based on anything outside of myself. And this is a hard lesson in terms of if something does happen. My dog is getting old. If she dies, I have mental rehearsal of how I'm going to handle this so that I don't completely fall apart. The quantum physics talks about the spiritual aspects of ourselves. You could not explain miracles, biological processes, or healing without understanding the quantum model of reality. We are conditioned to look outside of ourselves instead of within. We look for reason to change our emotional states, thinking external things will fulfill us. When we start to investigate who we are and look within, it becomes a skill. Now, Einstein had a vision. He spent a lot of time going inward, asking himself questions, and building models of understanding. His discovery of how light and energy were related was a result of this inward contemplation. And his dreams. He had an active dream life. When he published his papers on relativity, and it rocked the scientific community. His discovery was unique with it, and his brain was wired for understanding light, and light was the calling of reality. Now, light, think about this. We hear about light. In fact, in this new Jean Houston course that I'm taking, this first week, she talks about the power of the light. You're seeing light everywhere as you become more conscious. It's something that is something we can call forth, and living in the light. Live in the light purposely with great intention. Experiments with energy and electrons showed that the subatomic world did not behave like the larger world. Remember how in school, when I was young, we learned that the atom was some kind of physical thing, but as time has gone on, the atom is nothing but energy, which means that our whole body is nothing but energy. So we can work with this energy to create the life of our dreams. So the electron gained and lost energy unpredictably. This led to the understanding that subjective mind has an effect on the objective mind. And then we talk about the quantum field. People are conditioned to look for particles and matter instead of energy and information. We move in and out of the quantum field 7.8 times per second. When we observe a vision of the future and hold it steadfastly, we invest energy into the future. Clear intentions combined with elevated emotions create a powerful field around us. And and that would be our aura, really. We have control over the aura that we want to carry forth into the world. To create a new reality, you need to feel whole before your healing. You have to feel abundance before your wealth, and you have to feel the love before your new relationship. The same choices lead to the same behaviors, experiences, and emotions. And these emotions influence how we think, how we act, and feel, creating our personality and personal reality. We have unconscious programs of behaviors, habits, emotional reactions, and beliefs and perceptions that function like a computer program. When it comes time to change, we need to leave the familiar territory and step into the unknown. This will feel uncomfortable and uncertain, but it is necessary for transformation. And you have to imagine yourself crossing a river. Going from one state of the mind and body to another requires this kind of imagery. Crossing the river, it's a kind of an ancient sort of mythic story that comes out of many fairy tales and Buddhism. The hardest part about change is not making the same choices as the day before. Once people understand this, they can start rehearsing who they want to be and installing new neurological hardware into their brain, people. Leave your comments down below. We can have a discussion. This is so interesting. This is how we can change our lives, change our feelings, change our emotions, elevate our emotions to higher states of consciousness, and we can become the power we are meant to be. Please look at one of these videos that pops up down here. There's going to be a subscribe button, and turn on notifications for when I come on again, which will be tomorrow.